We are back for our second on the whistle record. You can see we've got quite a large amount of the usual panel, and we have a debutant. Warren has joined us as well this time. But unfortunately, we are discussing a defeat for Swindon Town as Good Friday turns to Bad Friday and Town go down 2-0 to Blackpool. As you can see, I've got Adam, I've got Rich, Christian, Joe, Kieran, and as I said before, debutant Warren, all to give their opinions on what was a largely uninspiring performance. Not terrible, definitely not the worst we've played, but didn't ever look to me, especially when we went a goal down, like we were ever going to get back into it. But let's get straight into it. And as the new guy, Warren, we'll throw you straight in. What was your taking on what you witnessed?
It's just so hard, isn't it? You watch us and you just think, if we don't score first, I just never can see us getting back into a game. It's just, and we just don't even look. In the first half, I just think we sat way too deep. We just gave them too much, I just think too much respect. And I just thought, yeah, they were unbeaten and they've been for a long period, but it's just so frustrating. And when we only have like one shot on target for a whole game at home, it's just frustrating as anything.
Did you, I mean, I noted here, I thought in the first half particularly, for the first 20, 25 minutes, I thought we looked quite comfortable, but then Blackpool started turning the screw and we just fell deeper and deeper. And it was almost an inevitable, you could see the goal coming. We were almost, I mean, in the group chat, we were all saying, just hang on till half time, hold out. And it didn't look like it was going to happen.
I think the system's been, the last few games, I think the system, they found a system that seems to work and we look a bit more solid and we don't look like conceding as easy as what we were. But then the downside to the system that we play is that you leave space down the sides. And as soon as the wing backs go forward, and they were criticising Iandolo today for the goal, which I thought, yeah, okay, but the ball's gone down the side and it's a big gap he's got to cover. And to be fair to the lad, it was a good finish. He took it on first thing and he's just straight into the corner. And what can you do? And then as soon as that goes in, I think all of us, and we all sit there and we just think, well, the best we're going to get today is a draw. And that is at the very, very best. And then they just looked in complete control. And that's that.
Joe, when you look at it, we've had two good results going into the game. Obviously, we've spoken about the difference in our season now between results and performance. But Blackpool went in very good form themselves. And when we were discussing off-air before kickoff, only 2 out of the group predicted us to win. 4 of us predicted draws, 4 predicted losses. It was probably inevitable, would you say, that we weren't going to get the result we really wanted?
Yeah, to be honest, I think even the management and the players probably looked at this game thinking if we get anything, it's a bonus. I don't think it was a game they would have been targeting to get a win. I think there's games to come, Burton, Wimbledon, Rochdale, they're games we need to get points from. And I just think, it was... The first half an hour, I thought we looked pretty good, solid anyway. And then, but once that first goal went in, it absolutely took the stuffing out of us. And I think it was, we just didn't look like getting back into it. And the frustrating thing was, we've said on this call before that playing Pittman up front on his own, but today he was so far up front on his own. Twine and Garrick were 40, 50 yards away from him at times. So, the bloke takes a lot of flack, and I think a lot of it's unfair, to be honest. But it was. I was happy for the first half an hour. After that, it was pretty disappointing, really.
Kieran, Joe mentions Garrick there, and when I saw the team, it was an interesting one because I've been fairly vocal about what I thought of him as a player in the past, and I held my hands up. And I said he was the difference maker last time out when he came off the bench. So I was interested to see, is he more of an impact player than a starter? And when we were looking okay in that first sort of 20, 25 minutes, he was clearly the danger man.
Yeah, I think for the first, the first 20, 25 minutes, he was a danger man. He created that great chance quite early on where Pittman was unlucky. If he'd got it on target, it possibly would have sort of beaten the keeper. But then he sort of tailed off and faded off. I think his problem in every game that he's only good for short periods, which I think why he may be better coming off the bench. But is he better? Possibly better than Joel Grant, who would sort of take a position. He's also not been doing well. So I think you had to start Garrett today after he came on and did so well against Bristol Rovers, and I think Grant did have quite a fairly bad game there. But I think again he was good for short periods, and his decision making still needs to get better. There was times even in that period where he was taking too long to make a pass or decide what he's going to do and whip it in. There's one, I think maybe just before the chance, or maybe in the chance where he's sort of passed it, he could have gone forward with it. He's just passed it back to Palmer. Palmer just whipped it into the box, which is what Garrett could have done and was probably in a better position to get sort of the angle on it. So yeah, I think his decision making just needs to get better, and he needs to be consistent for longer periods of the game to be a starter for me. But also, I think he's better. I think he's better than Grant. So it's quite a difficult decision to make. I wouldn't want to be John Sheridan making that decision.
No, absolutely, and I know. And this is why we have these, because everyone will have differing opinions. I know there's been a couple of you that have said that I've been overly harsh on how I've sort of looked at Garrick and what he offers. And I know there have been people that agree with me. And that's, why we love football, because everyone can have different opinions on exactly the same topic. Rich, I know the commentators were focusing a lot on the fact that after that point that we keep referring to, sort of 25 minutes in, Blackpool started to assert dominance. You had, I think it's Kai, and you had Embleton, who were really turning the screw. But they very late on picked up on something I was looking at, and until the goal, I was quite pleased with the concentration, that although they were dominant, we kept compact, and they didn't really look like scoring to me.
You know what? I think shape-wise, we've looked so much better over the last couple of games, and we made it really difficult for them. I think Jerry Yates wasn't having the freedom. It was only when maybe we took our eye off the ball, off for a second, and that they seemed to kind of creep into our defence. But really, I think going forward, that is definitely the formation we should be going. Now, I personally thought Dom Thompson had another shocking game today. I don't think he played very well at all. Just going back to the Jordan Garrick, he had the beating of Luke Garbutt today. And I think maybe the last half hour, if Garrick did come off the bench, I reckon he would have caused all sorts of problems, and I reckon we may potentially have got a goal back. But we started off all right. We started off well in the first half an hour, and as you say, defensively, I think going forward, the remaining games that we've got coming up for the rest of the season, we're going to make it hard for teams to score against us, and that is ultimately what we need to do. But on the other end of that, we need to be sticking the ball in the back of the net. And we have got that. We have got that firepower. It's just he needs to Sheridan needs to sort of reel it in a little bit now and try and get a passing game forward and not let other teams have so much possession of the game. As I think Joe said, I think we showed too much respect to Blackpool today, and we just let them have the ball. But again, I think given what we're doing, how we're playing at the moment, it's refreshing, and it's so much better than what we were playing prior to the Fleetwood away game.
It's actually interesting what you say there, and something I was going to come on to when we spoke about the subs in the second half. But Adam, I'll bring you in at this point. What I was quite interested in is, although we didn't create that goal-scoring chance as such, I quite like the look of us having two up top. And obviously, we've all said about Pittman looking isolated in virtually every single one of these calls, whether it's an on the whistle or a general conversation about town. What's your thoughts? Is two up top realistic in our situation going forward?
Whilst we're playing Pittman, yes, I agree. But I also, dare I say it, I don't think we were really playing two up top today. As we've mentioned, Twine spent so much of the game so far behind Pittman. I think, and the one thing we spoke a couple of weeks ago about it never, before the last 3 games, it didn't look quite clear what Sheridan was trying to do. Today, it did look clear what he was trying to do. He did want to give him respect and he did want to sit back, which I personally don't think it was the right approach, regardless of where they are in the league. You know, at the end of the day, we're in a relegation battle. But yeah, I think it's going to have to be, because Pittman will work hard, and we've all said before that we all know he will work hard, but he does need somebody up there with him. Is it Twine? Is it Twine that has to go up there with him? I personally don't know the answer to that. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably still have Twine in the team, but I actually quite like the idea of having someone like Hallam Hope, like we finished with, up front with him. Because I like Twine in those creative positions. I think if you put Twine in a duo, it's not always going to work. It's because all it takes is for them to mark him out of the game, and then that's it. Whereas when Twine had the most success today in the first half, especially, was when he was kind of dropping into those little pockets and picking. I think that even when he dropped back to receive the ball, there was an amazing bit of skill, I guess you could call it, that got him out of trouble against three players. He just did a couple of simple turns, and that's what he's good at. He's good at those tight spaces. But I think we don't see it very often. But when you play a 2 up front, you typically, both of those 2, regardless of the style of strikers, they need to be good at one-on-ones. Twine, we haven't really seen on a one-on-one situation that very often at the moment. There's probably a reason behind that. So yeah, I think definitely the 2 up front whilst we're playing Pittman, and I don't think Pittman should be dropped. I'll put that on record now. I think Pittman is the right style of player. We sorted the back out now. We've sorted the back out. We did look a bit better today, in comparison to before the last 3 games. But we now need to sort it out going forwards. You can't. Clean sheets will help you stay up, but clean sheets won't score you goals. So we've got to look at the other end now. And for me, I still think we've got better players up there that can do the business for us. But it's just, players don't naturally isolate, not most of the time. They're told to sit deep. They're told to pump it up to Pittman. They're told to try and build it up. Matty Palmer, I'm still trying to work out what his linking play is here, to be certainly honest. And I think that's a big factor as to why Twine's dropping in. I quite like Palmer. On his day, he's a really, really good player, but we don't see him on his day enough. But it's so I'm struggling to see what he's actually there to do. If you're going to isolate Pittman up front on his own, and you're going to play Twine in maybe just a bit behind him, you need somebody else linking Twine into Pittman. And for me, that would be Palmer's role, but it doesn't seem like he's playing that role at the moment.
You mentioned scoring goals there being critical. Christian, one thing we can say is that the goal that put Blackpool 1-0 up was a really good finish, wasn't it? Christian?
Has he gone to sleep?
Sorry, Sorry, is the game over?
I'm barking again.
Do we come back to win?
Which team?
What a load of rubbish. You know what I mean? We're a team at home fighting against relegation. Well, fucking flipping fight then. Fight. What's this boring crap? I'm glad I'm not paying £350 a season to sit and watch that. That's all I can say. At least sat at home, I can switch over to Country File or watch something else, The Circle or whatever.
Or Cheltenham on Sky today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Great first goal. Great first goal. Well done. But that is just...
Is
Don't
there
hold back
anything
next time,
else you'd like
Christian.
to add to that passion outburst?
Sorry?
I said, is there anything else you'd like to throw into the passionate outburst? I only said it was a good goal and off you went.
I really wish you'd hold back. Wouldn't hold back.
If we could score one occasionally, wouldn't it? Jesus.
One of
Look at
mine.
Blackpool, you think Stanley Matthews is still playing for him? It's Blackpool. Come on.
You should hold back a bit more, Christian. You should shouldn't hold back so much.
I think he's just got the understand parking when he's live to him. Warren, one of my frustrations, particularly as the second half came into play, was that we seem to now have this focus, or particularly in the second half, clearly the message was we need to keep the ball. But the problem with that, in my...
No, he's muted himself. Oh no.
And we were very slow and ponderous when, on the odd occasion, we did get forward. We never had that sort of burst that Blackpool did. They could play that pass and suddenly they were forward.
To be brutally honest, I just don't think we've got the players to do that. You look at Blackpool today and you just think that Embleton in the middle, we've all mentioned the Kai, and up top they look decent, but in the middle of the park, we just haven't got the players to do it. We just don't. We can't play that football, and that's why we find we go more direct, because it just ends up going sideways, or we get the odd pass that goes forward and then we lose the ball. And this is the reason why we just put the ball forward, I think, and hope that Pittman gets hold of it and brings other people into play, because we can play it, but it's just we haven't got the right people in the middle of the park to do it. And today I just thought Blackpool, they're just a better team than us. That is as simple as that. And like Joe said earlier, these aren't going to be the games that define our season. This is going to be Burton on Monday, Wimbledon, Rochdale, games like that are going to define it. And I agree that if it's a free shot like today, why weren't we just a bit more adventurous and had a go? And just, if we were going to lose, we were going to lose. We'd still be all on here at the end going, well, if we would have lost 3-1, 3-2, well, at least we had a go and we had a bit more creativity and actually did something. But it's just hard to watch, isn't it, when we just sit there and as soon as the first goal goes in for Blackpool, like I said earlier, we don't look like coming back. But like you said, with your point about the passing side of it, it's just, I don't think we've got the players to do it. It's simple as that.
Joe, the term used a moment ago was having the right players, particularly in the middle of the park. And one of those right players last year was Jerry Yates. And, he got the goal I think everyone was expecting him to get. And perhaps, like you would argue, he probably deserved it because he put in a decent performance.
Yeah, I mean, he is what he is, isn't he, Jerry Yates? He's not gifted with amazing ability, but he runs his heart off, doesn't he? He works hard, tries his hardest. He's, whether you're 3-0 up or 3-0 down, he's exactly the same player. And that's why we all fell in love with him last year, because he was told he had to go out on the left and do a job because we had Doyle playing through the middle. Didn't complain, just got on with it. But yeah, and in a way, I'm happy for him that he's done really well this season. I think he'll be in the Championship next year, whether it's with Blackpool or somebody else.
I heard on the sort of just before when I put iFollow on, I was listening to the Radio Wilts bit before kickoff. Apparently, a Championship club has put in a £2 million bid for him. Do we also?
I've heard it's Bristol City.
Yeah,
apparently it's Bristol City. I've heard.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
They're going in for him.
I hope so, because he's at his level now. He's great at this level. He won't be able to do it in the Championship. So hopefully it is Bristol City.
Does anyone agree with Christian there? Do we think the Championship is a step too far for him?
I think he'd be like a decent sort of squad player in the Championship. I don't think he's going to be a lead the line main man, striker. I think. But then if they're looking at spending $2 million on him, they're obviously thinking they're going to be playing him every week. So, I think League One at the moment probably is his level, but with his work rate, desire, attitude he's got, I think he's got every chance of being semi-successful.
That's what's endearing about Jerry Yates. When we watched him last year, it was just all his work rate, wasn't it? It just, everyone got excited because of how much running he did, how he pressed defenders, made it difficult. And that's why he was so good with Doyle, because it was just and that's how people see it, is that he's a great striker because of the work that he puts in and the effort. And he could go that level, but it's.
I think you've got to prove yourself. You've got to prove yourself in every league. He's proved it in League Two. scoring goals. Obviously, he wasn't the main goal scorer for us last season. Obviously, we had Owen Dore to do that, but it was great to compliment him. He's done well. He scored 16 goals now for Blackpool this season. Why not? Why can't he do it in the Championship? And you know what? I think if Blackpool do get 2 million for him, I think Swindon can count themselves.
I'm not being disrespectful to him, you know. I'll say that I'm not being disrespectful to him. I think he's very, very good at this level, League One. Like Sam Parkin. Sam Parkin, sorry, private joke. Sam Parkin wasn't very effective in the Championship, and I don't think Jerry Yates will be either. And that's no disrespect to him, because I think he's proved himself in this league now, in League One. He's done really well. Fair play to lad. I think he'll come unstuck at the next level, though. That's just my opinion.
I agree with that, because I think he's only 23, 24, isn't he? I think going up to the Championship at the minute for him, if I was him, would be a bit of a mistake, but you've got to do what you got to do if you get an offer come in for you and a contract in front of you. But I think the jump from League One to the Championship is a big old leap. And I just think the way he plays, he's better off in League One. He's a good player and he's a good goal scorer. I think he could possibly do with another year in League One, because the sort of League Two, League One jump isn't massive. Like, there's lots of players that do that every sort of year. But I think the jump between the Championship, you need another year sort of playing against those teams that come down from the Championship and having those teams that come up from League Two. I reckon if he had another year in League One, I think he'd do a lot better in the Championship second round. But the fear for me would be if he went now, I think it'd be too much too soon, and I think he'd end up back in League One, League Two in a year or two. Obviously, John Sheridan made him at Carlisle like into the player he is. So.
I think it's worth saying just on two of those things. First of all, Kieran, you say the jump from League Two to League One isn't that great. Let's just remember who won League Two last year, and it might have been points per game. And then let's look to see how they're doing in League One this year.
It's a different squad. It's a different squad. It's a much different squad.
Yeah,
we've lost Doyle, we've lost Yates, we've now lost DJ as well. It was a very, very, very different squad in the summer. We had a big changeover again, so I don't think we did. And if you look at the jump when we had DeCanio, we were top of the league until he left. I know that was a similar squad, but with a lot more money pumped in. So I don't think that's necessarily true. But I think for a player, as a club, and you're changing your squad, is a big jump.
The thing is, though, Kieran, you say that it's a big jump. What if Blackpool get the playoffs and they get promoted this season? He's going to be in the Championship anyway.
I think it's different as well going up with a team than it is jumping to a team. I thought this year, to be honest, because he's not gone into a team where he's done well, that he might struggle this year. A bit like Doyle did struggle to start off with Bolton.
I think we all thought
different managers play in different ways. I think if you go up with a squad, you're obviously going to go up with the same manager. You got more chance of hitting the ground running. I think as well, going to the established club, if it was Bristol City as well, they've been in the Championship for a few years. They've got some established strikers there, and they're going to bring some maybe loan in from the Premier League, got a bit more to compete to. You could end up just being a squad player. So I think if you go up with a squad, it's different, but the jump's still going to be big, and you still have to sort of prove his mustard there.
I think if he gets given the chance, I think he'll flourish. I think he'll do really, really well. But as you say, if he does go to Bristol City, yeah, he probably will be a squad player. But I'm sure if he's given a chance, I'm sure he'll take it with both hands.
I'll have to come back to this chat in like a year's time and see if it's me and Christian sat here looking like idiots on the rest.
Interestingly, though,
we'll be their best player. Don't worry about squad player. We'll be their best player.
Interesting, though. We're talking about all these players that we lost in the summer, Doyle, Yates, etc.
I like how we're not talking about our players.
I think one of the most important players we lost was Michael Doughty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
His passing ability was. I think with Garrick on the wing, I think Doughty plays him in 8, 9, 10 times.
Massive point.
Just haven't got it in the locker. Lydon hasn't got. I love Lydon. I think he's not that type of midfielder. I think Michael was one of the biggest losses we had in the summer.
Yeah, and I think as well, like his personality in the squad, he's quite passionate about the club. Obviously, this is one of the clubs he's been most settled at, and he's had sort of some of his best times and best format. His sort of loss in the dressing room. If you had him and Grant in the dressing room, I can imagine that with the sort of stuff that we reckon that's been said that's been going on with Sheridan, like there's been arguments and stuff. I think those two could have overpowered the dressing room, but they're big. He's a big personality as well, and he's very well liked. And he has a passion, much like Grant does, to be fair, for the club and for the game. That I think it could have been a little bit different if we had kept them. And then obviously experience that he'd be probably my pick for club captain if he'd stayed. If we still had him.
Adam, if I can bring attention back to today's game, it wasn't 5 subs this time, it was just 4 in one go. It did look, as was mentioned, it almost looked sort of premeditated. They all seemed to know they were coming off, so I don't think anyone was reading into it what they did the last time so many were made. But when you see the players coming off, particularly the actual names of the players coming off, when you consider they're the ones who look to be the nailed on first teamers, for me, it was almost a sign like Sheridan had given up with this game and he was only focusing on Monday, which I can understand from a professional perspective when you have got so many more games to come to, but I think you've got to play the game that's in front of you, and taking off the bigger name players, if you like, it sends a message that we're not going to attempt to claw this back anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they were planned. I've got no doubt that they were planned, those subs. Whether they were all planned to happen at once, because even the players that came off, they weren't really having a bad game, like a terribly bad game. The players that came off, I mean, and also there wasn't really. I know we mentioned that it looked like we switched to 4-4-2 or whatever, but there wasn't really a massive tactical change when they came on. We didn't look more attacking when they came on, so we weren't chasing the game. Well, we were chasing the game, but we actually weren't. So it's difficult because you speak to any manager, a previous manager or anything, they will tell you they hate Easter weekend because of how quickly the games turn around. But you look at maybe Cadiz would have, I probably would have put Cadiz off at the beginning, said he would be coming off at the beginning of the game because there's no way he's going to last 180 minutes in 3 days. And probably the same with Pittman. Twine, I was a little bit surprised about. Although he didn't have his best game, he is that type of player that will just pick something out of anywhere. That's the problem. He'll have that one opportunity a game where he'll just absolutely launch one. So I was a little bit surprised at that. But I don't like and I think Christian kind of alluded to it earlier, I don't like the defeatist attitude when you're losing. I don't like for me, you can score 3 goals in 2.5 minutes or whatever the record is at the moment, so it is, there's always, no, well, yeah, that's a different matter, isn't it? But to bring off your leading scorer, because Pittman is a leading scorer, isn't he? You're, a guy who's probably going to score a goal from anywhere and replace them with, Hallam Hope. I like Hallam Hope, so I'm not going to speak about him. But Tyler Smith, who's just been in and out of favour, sometimes in the squad, sometimes not in the squad. You can't rely on him to be an impact player. So it was strange. I wonder whether he intended to make them on the 70th minute. It seems very strange to bring them off with 20 minutes to go. But I don't think. If Sheridan comes out and says he was playing for a draw, which he won't, but if he comes out and says he was playing for a draw today, it's just the wrong thing to do. We're in a relegation battle. You've got to try and win every single game now. And I will add that Sheridan said I managed to get hold of his pre-match presser. He said he thinks we're capable of beating anybody in this league. He that was his words in the pre-match to this game. So if you think you're capable of beating anyone in this league, go out and show it. I will also say that he didn't think Jerry Yates was very good. So it's and then Jerry Yates scores.
Do you want to know what he said in his post-match? He says,
apparently we outplayed them, or they outplayed us, didn't they?
He said, I don't think we played that badly today.
Yeah. Jerry Yates thinks Sheridan's a bit shit as well, apparently.
Just before we sort of do a final reflection, and hopefully you guys have got that extra sort of 5-10 minutes to look ahead to Burton before we finish. Rich, I just wanted to ask you, I don't know if you listened or read to the pre-match comments as well, but once again, he seems to have done, Sheridan that is, a complete character assassination of Conroy, in my opinion.
I think Conroy, obviously he's come back from a two really bad injuries, surprisingly not career threatening. And, I think it does take time. I mean, he was thrown in a little bit in pre-season under Wellens, and even then he said he's miles away yet. He came back in December. He played. I could see what he was saying, that it took me a while to actually notice that actually he was part of conceding a lot of the goals. And then a couple of weeks on later, it started to become a little bit more clear that he hasn't got his he's not got his stamina up. He can't keep going on for the full 90 minutes. Doesn't explain the reason why Sheridan takes him off in the 86th minute and throws Taylor Curran on, but still I think I think he's done the right thing. And the thing is, he seems to have a system now. But the problem is why hasn't he done that earlier in the season? He knows what he had to do. He's now got a stable defense in Odemayo, Grant, and Iandolo. And I don't think either of them really, apart from maybe the first goal, and obviously the second goal as well. They were trying to keep him offside, weren't they? But really, they look like they know what they're doing. So they look tight, and I think that is definitely the way to go for the rest of the season if we can keep that up.
It's interesting, though, that back three is the best defence we've had all season, and I wouldn't call any of them a centre back.
No, exactly, and this is it. Wow, I think apart from Odemayo, but Anthony Grant's obviously a defensive mid, and Iandolo has had to adapt. And this is the thing, I think players have to adapt as well as Sheridan. Sheridan has to adapt as well to different teams that we're playing. And I think Iandolo, he's done a terrific job since he has had to adapt to that centre half role. So, but it's not much different than where he has played before. And I think he's done really, really well.
Joe, I think it's a very interesting comment you've made there. And one thing I want to ask you, it's something we alluded to the last time we did this. How much of that apparent tightness, closeness, solidarity that defensive line has got, do you think is due to having A, the experienced head of Grant in the middle, but B, having an experienced keeper behind them?
Yeah, it's definitely, of course, it's going to have a lot to do with it. I mean, Camp's played 500 odd games. Anthony Grant's probably played nearly the same. So, you've probably got 1,000 games worth of experience there. And, Odemayo's a young player that's trying his hardest to make his way in the game. Ellis is a player that's been at the club a long time and is probably, he's got real determination to do well for this club. And hopefully now he's found a position that he can settle in the side in. But yeah, I mean, Anthony, if he plays anywhere on the pitch, he's going to make a difference, isn't he? Just by the way he talks, the way he leads the team by example, never gives up. Even at the end of that game, 2-0, everyone else was jogging about, and Anthony Grant still charging about trying to kick everybody. So, I mean, that's obviously massive. I mean, that's been the biggest problem all season, hasn't it? Is young goalkeepers not communicating with the defenders. So, it's no coincidence to me that the defence has tightened up with an experienced keeper back there.
Just before we move on to Burton then, a quick look at the table. Other results to a point went our way. We've ticked off another game. We're still just above the dotted line at this point, and I'll ask you all, I'll go through in the order that I've got you on the screen. So Adam, you'll go first. A couple of weeks ago, we were all kind of resigned to relegation. Are you feeling any more confident given what you've seen, even in defeat today? Can you see that there's something there to keep us up?
The teams around us could keep us up. Is probably the best way to put it. I think this month we're going into is huge, because I think we're playing quite a few teams around it, including obviously Burton as well. I don't think Burton are out of it just yet. I think Burton could still get suckered back in. I think they've had a couple of losses the last few games, so that could suck them back in. So it's turned into that magic 7 or whatever it was before. But yeah, I think Warren said it earlier that's part of the problem with games like today. Yet that two things out of the game today, that means that practically those 2 last wins don't mean a massive amount because now we've got rid of that run. But the other thing is if we had gone for it and potentially got a result, that would have been massive today. I actually hate this. I've said it myself a few times, but I hate the saying results have gone our way, because if you don't win, it doesn't matter what the other results are really, because we still got the same amount of points and they've still got the same amount of points. So all it does is just tick the game off the chart. So the last thing I want is to go to the last game of the season and we rely on other results to keep us up, regardless of what we do. Do I think I'm still optimistic. I think we will stay up, but this month is massively important. I think we've got 6 games, 18 points in total. So I'd say we comfortably, I'm sticking myself out there, but I think we need at least 12 out of those to feel comfortable going into the last few games in May.
Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I echo the sentiments there, really. I mean, we've got, 3 or 4 of the bottom 6 to play, haven't we? So if we can win all of those, I think we've got a pretty good chance of staying up. Burton were obviously on an unbelievable run up until a couple of weeks ago. Now they've hit a sticky patch. So if we can beat them Monday, that drags them back into it as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a lot more optimistic now than I was a month ago, that's for sure. And I can see, as we've discussed already, that we are harder to beat. If we can just get a bit more creative and score a few more goals, we've got a real chance of staying up.
Warren?
Yeah, the same as Joe and Adam, really. This is a massive month, like Adam said, and we're playing the teams around us, and the phrase 6-pointer always comes to mind, doesn't it? You're stopping the other team from getting the 3 points, and you're gaining them themselves. So I've always been quite optimistic. I just think you look at the teams below, and I know you shouldn't, but you look at them below, and I just think we can't be worse than them, can we? Surely. And I know as fans, they probably say it about us as well, but I look at it and I just think we can't be worse than a Rochdale or a Wimbledon, or and I feel like we said earlier, we've got the firepower, and they've got to look after these players, and that's why I don't disagree with taking Pittman off today. I think sometimes he's the only one that looks like scoring goals for us, and I think we need to look after him, and it's simple as that. And I'm optimistic. I think we will do it.
The only issue I have personally with the saying that there are, we can't be worse than them is we have to find at least 4 teams worse than us in this league.
That is true. Yeah.
Essentially lies the issue. Rich, where are you at the moment in terms of confidence in Town staying up?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I think a couple of weeks ago I did say that I think I'd resigned to relegation, but the last 2 games, well, even today as well. I mean, you got to say that for the first 45 minutes of today, 44 minutes of the game today, we looked pretty strong defensively. And I think there are worse teams. As I said at the start of the season, there are worse teams than us in the league, and I think they've proven it as well today. But I think we've got to beat the teams that are down below us within the next few weeks. But also any games that we do have, I think we've got Peterborough and Ipswich, I think. I mean, anything from those 2 games is a bonus for us. And I think, as Woody said, we can't rely on other results going our way, because if they've got the same mentality as we're thinking at the moment, or as our players are thinking at the moment, they're going to go for it. They're going to be like, oh, wow, they're only concentrating on beating us. So, wow, if we've got Ipswich, Peterborough, Charlton, doesn't matter, whoever's up there, and they've got next, they're just going to go for it. So, but in terms of staying up, I think we can do it. There's no reason as to why we can't do it. And I think subbing the players off today, we can't afford to get any injuries either. So I think that's been another issue that we've had this season, is too many injuries being Saturday, Tuesday. So, I do think that was actually smart of Sheridan today. I don't say that very often, but
we'll only know if it was smart on Monday, won't we?
Yes.
Wow, yeah, this is it. And I always said that Monday was more crucial than today. Monday is make or break. we've got to beat Burton on. A draw isn't good enough, and obviously we can't lose.
Well, the talk on Burton is to come in just a moment, but let's ask Christian and Kieran. So, Christian, you're first. Are you confident in what you've seen in recent weeks we can still stay up?
If we can get the county ground condemned and switch every game away from home, we stand half a chance. We are woeful at home. Listen, we've played 20 games at home this season. 20 games, we have lost 12 of them. Okay? So when we're talking about teams that are down there with us, that are rubbish, not as good as us, the next worst, I think, is Bristol Rovers. They've lost 11 at home. The statistics are there. There is something wrong with us playing at home. We look far better away from home. There must be some sort of gypsy's curse on the ground. You know, someone is going to have a piss in all four corners or something. We got to shake this. So we can stay up. It'll be close. We might do, we might not do. Even if we do, it's been a woeful season, and we have to sort this home form out. Because even last year, we weren't very good at home. The year before, there's something just not gelling at home. And, you know, we need to get to the bottom of it.
Kieran?
Yeah, I think it's going to be close if we stay up, and I think it goes down to the final day at Wigan, and I think we could rely on other results at that point. I think we've got enough in us, and I think the turning point in the last two games, if we can sort of play how we did in those, and even for a majority of today, I think we can stay up. I think a couple of weeks ago, if we carried on how we were going, particularly against Oxford and teams like that, what we were doing before, I don't think we would have done. But I think now we seem to be playing a lot better. Something seemed to have clicked finally. I don't know whether today's loss comes with the end of Lent and something coincides with that, but I don't think we were that bad today. And I think, I think we can stay up, but it depends on, and I think Monday will be a big indicator on whether we can or not, whether we can actually turn up for the games for teams against us. But look, we get some of these bonus results. Today would have been a bonus result, but I think we rode that one with Fleetwood, where we did actually go for it. We were a bit experimental, which then helped us onto the Bristol Rovers result. We sort of could have done with something today, at least a point today, to sort of gone on to go into the Burton game. But I think hopefully we can get. We've had a rest going into this weekend, which is positive. So going into the Burton game, hopefully we can do something. But obviously we'll talk about it in a minute.
Well, let's look at Burton before we finish. I'll ask all of you again sort of what you're hoping to see, maybe any changes to the team, and of course some predictions. It's worth saying on that note, I'm sure he won't take any real pride in me saying Christian was the only one pre-match to correctly predict today's results. If I just have a quick look at the list I've got here, Adam predicted we'd win 2-1, as did Joe. Where are we? I put 1-1, Warren put 1-1. Kieran said we'd lose 3-1. Rich said we'd lose 2-1. So there wasn't, there was mixed views and not a great deal of optimism around the group. We got the rest of the guys also predicted. So again, I'll go round and I'll ask you all, as I said, what you're hoping to see Monday. Joe, I'll come to you first. Any changes to the team or approach? And obviously, what's your score prediction, please?
Well, the approach has got to change from today, hasn't it? It's got to be like, certainly like the Fleetwood game, have a go at them early on. We've the frustrating thing is we've got players that can hurt teams, but we just don't utilise them right. I still stand by the fact that Pittman is one of the best finishers in this league. If you give him the ball to feet in the box, not 40, 50-yard punts upfield for him to try and win in the air. I think you got to. It sounds simple, doesn't it? Sat here like a Football Manager player, but you got to get your wing backs down the line, put sort of low crosses in for Pittman to finish off. And it's pointless hanging crosses in the box because the keeper's coming out all day long. Burton will probably have a couple of lads at 6'4", 6'5" at the back. They're going to eat that up all day long. We've got to be clever. We got to try and get Twine in between the midfield and the defenders, work his magic and utilise the players we've got to their potential. Garrick reminds me so much like Kane Woolery. He's all pace and muscle. His final ball is poor, but he does cause problems. And we've seen the Bristol Rovers game. He's changed at the first half an hour today. He was pretty dangerous, and we got to use these players to the best of their ability. And if we can do that, I'd see us winning on Monday. But if we go there with a negative mindset, sit back, try and hold on for 60 minutes, then, they've got players that can hurt us as well. So what do I want to see? I want to see a 3-0 win. What are we going to see? I don't know. It's going to be edgy, isn't it? I think it's going to be a bit of a draw, which ain't really going to help either team.
Christian?
Hey, Burton Albion, pub team. We'll beat them 3-1. And I'm never wrong on my predictions. We will beat them 3-1.
Well,
now.
I hope you're right, but I do believe that today's is the first one you've got right since we started.
No, you need to write my answers down in future. I'm always right. We will beat them 3-1.
Warren?
With Burton, it's going to be physical, isn't it? They've got some big physical lads, like Joe was alluding to, at centre half. I think their midfield's pretty strong. I personally would, and I don't think we've seen enough of him, but I think he's a gritty player. I'd like to see Missilou come back in if he's fit from coming back from international duty. I just don't see enough from our midfield, and I think if we're not going to pass teams by getting it through them, I think we need to be more gritty, and that's one thing we've lost without Grant in there, is that we haven't got someone that's sticking their foot in, giving a challenge. We've got very pretty players like Payne, Twine, Palmer, all players that like to get on the ball. But I just don't really see much of an impact from them in most games at the minute. And I just think it's going to be a battle. And I just think we need someone in the middle of the park that's going to put a challenge in, put their foot in. And apart from that, I don't think there'll be any more changes. I think he showed today by taking off Thompson, Caddiff, Pittman, they're all going to start. And like Joe said, we've got to get the ball to Pittman in the right areas, because he is our goal scorer that could keep us in this league. And that is it. It's simple as that. And that's
I don't see any of the other teams around us with a goal scorer as good as Pittman.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I think, like you said earlier, I think he's got a lot of unfair slack from when he's been in. What are they expecting a 34-year-old or whatever age he is to be busting around? You need him in the right area.
He didn't do that when he was 24.
No, he didn't. And it was a bit like Doyle last year. And I know we go back to this, but he was in the right area at the right time. And that's how I see Pittman is. And that's what we need to score goals. He is going to be the person that do it, unless we get a free kick and then Twine, there we are. So, but I just feel it's going to be a battle on Monday. And I think we need everyone to step up, because like we say, this is massive again. I know we keep saying this is the biggest game of the season, but this one again, it makes us catch up with Burton. And I'm lumping on 3-1 now, Christian, like Christian said. I think it could be that.
Kieran?
I think we can beat Burton. I think we're away from home. I think we've just got to go there. We need a result, and we need to beat teams around us. I think we did it against Rovers, and I think we probably least expected, after we beat Fleetwood, no one too much expected a result against Rovers. But I think we need to go there and beat them, and I think we are better. I think we are better than them, because they were bottom of the league like a few weeks ago. They've just had luck with their manager. They've had a few bad results, but I think both teams are going to go for it. But I think we'll be better if they go for it, and we can because we were better on the break today, and we can hit them on the break. I think we'll get a result. I think it's going to be tight either way, but a draw doesn't suit either side. So hopefully it's going to be sort of a game where we both go for it. But yeah, I'm going to go with us to win. I'm not going to put a score on it, but I reckon we'll win Monday.
Rich?
I think something that Kieran just said there is, obviously they've got a new manager. They've had the new manager come in. Hopefully his honeymoon period sort of ended now and it's starting to drop off a bit. That's all we can really hope for. I mean, changes to the team. Do you know what? I'd love to see Dom Thompson get dropped. I just don't think he's been good enough, but I just don't know who would be able to replace him with. So I guess he's sort of staying in the squad. Twiney, we've got to utilize Twiney a lot more on Monday. He needs to be in and around those defenders. I'm not entirely sure who their defenders are, and if they are like 6'4" beasts or whatever, but he's just got to get down there and get free kicks and do what Scott Twine can do. And I don't think that's the only way we're going to win on Monday. I think obviously using Jordan Garrick's pace again, I think we need to utilize that a lot more, get in and around the defenders. I think the play that we've played today, I think we've done really well, and I think we need to bring that into the next game as well. As everyone has said, Burton is so winnable. We did it earlier in the season. I know it was under different circumstances and everything like that, but we can do it. But one thing I will say now, I guarantee Johnny Smith is going to score against us.
Final word on Burton to Adam.
Well, Rich has stole my punchline there because I said Johnny Smith will score against us. Well, I just had a look whilst the lads were talking at the game today because I wasn't sure how Burton got on today. They drew 0-0 with Accrington. So, but I don't know if anybody gets a chance to have a look at the deeper stats into that. Accrington battered 25 shots against their 9. So we know, I think Burton set up against Accrington probably the same way that we set up against Blackpool today, except that Accrington just couldn't finish. I think, as kind of alluding to what Christian said earlier, it's probably in our benefit that we're away. Is probably the big thing. I do wonder whether because I'm looking back, Burton's a small pitch. We tend to play better on small pitches. Whether that will have a difference. My conclusion is that I don't think we can play Palmer and Payne. Yeah, that's it. Palmer and Payne. We can't play them both because it's interesting because when Warren did it earlier, that was the first time we've mentioned Payne today, and it was but I'm pretty sure we've mentioned every other player. Payne is it's either Palmer, Payne, and Twine. In fact, probably I'd stretch it to those 3. You can't play those 3 at the same time. So I'd like to see Mr. Lou come back. And I'd hold my hands up and said I wasn't a fan of him after his first game with us. But since then, he did all right. He is our replacement for Grant if Grant's playing at the back. So, yeah, I would probably look at, maybe even dropping Palmer and Payne, putting Mr. Lou in there and putting 2 up front as hope and play Twine in behind him. But that's just how I would set up. But then, as Rich said, do we want to change things around too much now? But if you go to a 3-5-2 and just reverse that triangle in the middle, it's not going to be changing things massively. So I would probably play Twine in behind Hope and Pittman would be the changes I would personally make.
Score prediction?
Oh, yeah. Score prediction. We'll scrape a 1-0, I think.
For what it's worth, I was strangely more confident of something today than I was on Monday. But given that we have now lost, I think we might get a draw Monday, which I know isn't ideal, but at least we don't lose. It'll definitely be a score draw because we won't keep a clean sheet.
2 clean sheets in the last 3 games.
Yeah, but we did it today.
Yeah, but that's because Jerry Yates was playing.
Yeah, I think you got to look a little bit further forward as well. I mean, obviously we've got Peterborough next Saturday, who are banging form. Just beat.
They beat Accrington 7-0, didn't they?
Yeah,
It was Accrington they beat 7-0 as well. So
exactly.
clean sheet today.
Yeah, and we've got them at home as well, and we're shit at home. So I'm absolutely shitting myself for that.
10-0.
That'd be so Swindon though to win that game.
It would be.
Yeah. Surely Nathan Thompson owes us a favour.
But yeah, I'm going to say we'll draw 1-1 on Monday. But guys, as always, thank you very much for your time. Straight after the game, so I know you might change some of your opinions on reflection as time goes by. But having spoken to you for a few months now, I doubt it very much. Particularly Christian, who I'm sure has a Twitter spat or 2 to get back to, so I don't want to keep him too long.
I started drinking early today as well.
Guys, and to anyone who does take the time to watch, thank you. Again, as we always say, you're always welcome to join us and share your opinion as Warren has done this time. How was your debut, sir?
Well, you asked the rest. I enjoyed it. I think we all have opinions, don't we? And that's all that matters. And that's what's great about fans, that we've all got different opinions and we should all, let it out. And
put it this way, Fyfe, he's had a debut like Dominic Thompson, so let's hope the next performance is better.
The way that Rich is going on about Dominic Thompson, he's going to have me out after the next one, I think.
Don't worry, he was positive about Sheridan last time, and he's changed his tune a little on that.
And just to sign off to Swindon Town fans all around the world, wishing you a very happy Easter. Thank you very much, gents. Until next time, it is goodbye.